Hi, my name is Martin Ortega. I'm the Director of Enrollment Management at San Antonio College, and I'll be talking to you today about FERPA. And FERPA stands for the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. FERPA, which is what we will refer to it from this point forward, is a federal guideline that provides guarantees regarding access and confidentiality of student records. And why is knowledge of FERPA in higher education such a big deal? In today's higher education environment, we have increased requests for for information regarding our students, students that attend our universities, our colleges and universities. And we have to be able to know, we need to know what we can share to outside entities regarding student records. Students' records are protected by federal regulation, as we said before, known as FERPA. There are many student safety issues involved, and it's important to know key definitions as they relate to student records and FERPA. First, let's talk about what is considered an education record as it relates to FERPA. An education record is any record identifying students that is maintained by the institution in any medium. There are exceptions to records that are maintained by the institution that do identify students that are exceptions to the FERPA guidelines, meaning they are not protected. They are not protected from being shared. And two of the main exceptions that we need to know about and that are key in today's higher education world as it relates to student records are when there is a safety emergency. Unfortunately, that's something that is very common, more common than we would ever like for it to be in today's higher education and campuses across the country. And when there is a health emergency, meaning there is an outbreak of a contagious virus, if you will. So those are two exceptions where a student record would not be protected under FERPA. It's important to know who does FERPA apply to. FERPA applies to students. And for the Alamo colleges, when we were trying to decide and develop the training for FERPA, that was the first question that needed to be answered, which is who is a student? And we decided to go the conservative route, which is that for Alamo colleges, a student is any person, not a non-employee person who has a record in our student database. Meaning the student does not have to be formally admitted or registered beyond the census date to be considered a student to have their record protected under FERPA. If a student just has, for instance, has come in for some preliminary advising or express an interest in the college or to begin the testing process, the application process, and the record exists in our student database, then we're going to consider that person a student, and their FERPA rights will kick in. The next question that I get asked a lot, or that we get asked a lot, is, are all student records protected by FERPA? What I have found in my discussions and in my delivery of this training is that still the misconception that FERPA rights kick in when a student is an adult, and that is not the case. Students to whom the rights have transferred are eligible students to have their records protected under FERPA. And the next question is, when do those rights transfer to the student, meaning from the parent or custodial parent to the student? Students who have reached the age of 18 or attend a school beyond the high school level, have their student records protected under FERPA. So, because we are a community college and we have a good population of dual enrollment students that are not yet high school graduates, but taking courses at the college level, the question always regularly comes up is that student's record protected under FERPA? And the answer is yes, because it's any record maintained by the institution, the college, is protected under FERPA, regardless of the student's age. There are some loopholes and some ways around that where we, the college, can share information back to the high school with regards to the student record, and then the high school has the ability to share that information with the parent, because a high school student's record is not protected under FERPA. FERPA only exists for the higher education record. So any student's record at the higher education level is protected under FERPA, regardless of age. As soon as I answer that question, the next question that comes up is, can a parent request access to their child's record? And the answer is yes. A parent can request to have access to their child's record beyond the high school level, meaning their college or university record, if the parent can prove with their latest IRS tax documents that the student is a dependent. If the parent, and the only way that a parent can prove that is by bringing in the first page of their most recent tax return, and the individual is listed as a dependent. If the parent can bring in that documentation, the institution may share information from the education record with that individual. The federal regulation is kind of tricky on that one, because a lot of the institutions are not required to share that with the parent. The institution may share that with the parent. And the other criteria that must be met is that the student has not placed a withholding of their education record on file with the Admissions and Records Office. So even if a parent comes in and says, Mr. Ortega, I would like to know my son or daughter's grades for last semester. Here's my IRS document that lists them as a dependent, and everything checks out, and I go in to access the record. If in our student database the student has already submitted a request to our office to have their information kept private, then it's my job to share the bad news with the parent, to say, or the good news with the parent, to say, hey, your son or daughter has taken responsibility to keep their record private, and I'm not able to share that. And then I put that back onto the parent and the student. Now, there is information that the institution can share without the student's consent, meaning, and we can share this information with anybody and everybody who asks for it, and that's called directory information. Every college and university must define what they consider directory information, meaning that the information can be freely shared without the student's consent, and if the student has not placed a withholding of directory information on file with the Admissions and Records Office. For the Alamo colleges, what we consider directory information is the student's name, the student's major, dates of attendance, enrollment status, degrees earned, awards received, and previous institutions attended. That is what is considered directory information for the Alamo colleges. Every college and university defines that on their own. Some colleges do include other contact information, such as email address, phone numbers. That's not the recommended practice, but I have seen some institutions where they do list that as directory information. And we are required to notify students on an annual basis what we consider directory information, and that's included in our catalog that gets published once a year. I mentioned just a second ago the withholding of directory information, and that is a document that the student would have on file with us, with the Admissions and Records Office or the Registrar's Office at their college or university, where they would let us know that they would like for their information to not be shared. Now, what that means is that the information cannot be shared under any circumstance, meaning if there are scholarship opportunities or some other marketing opportunities, we have companies that are interested in certain graduates of programs or whatnot, and the student has filed a withholding of directory information, we would not be able to share that information. And then information which will never be released and may never be released under any circumstance, of course, is information that directly identifies a student. And it's important to know this as well. And for us, what we always mention when we do this training is you should never give out social security numbers, dates of birth, addresses, email addresses, grades, grade point average, class schedule, meaning where to find a student, and financial information. We do have a process for family emergencies when there is a family emergency and a family member needs to find a student, because that does happen. Sometimes we do get requests from family members at our office that say there's a family emergency, I need to get in touch with the student because we need to get them to another place. And we will never tell that individual, family member or friend or whatnot, say, oh yeah, Johnny is in building X in room 100. What the process that we follow is we get in touch with our public safety department, our campus police, let them know that there is a situation where we need to pull a student from a course or notify a student that there is a family emergency, and that police officer or somebody from the campus police department will make contact with the student and let them know that there's a situation that they need to address. They need to get in touch with somebody from their family or whatever contact information we've collected from the person inquiring. That is a very brief explanation of FERPA. It's the shortest FERPA presentation that I've ever given. There is tons more information both on our website at alamo.edu/SAC or at ed.gov that gives the federal regulation and the policies and some best practices regarding what colleges and universities should follow, both with forms to have on file. There are some templates that are available, and there are numerous training opportunities available that provide also templates of forms to have on file, both for the withholding of directory information or for students to give consent for somebody else, a family member, a parent, a spouse or whatnot, to have access to that information. And again, all of that information should always be channeled and filed with the Admissions and Records or Registrar's Office, whoever the record keeper at the college or university is, so that it's accessible with the department that's the custodian of the education record. Thank you.